Folks, Dale Jackson here. Thank you very much for being back with us again. I have radio shows. You can follow them every single day, 5 to 9 a.m. in Huntsville, Alabama, and then 10 until noon in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And you can follow me on all the social medias at the Dale Jackson. Let's talk about January 6th, since this is, I guess, a national holiday. I guess we're kind of lucky that Joe Biden didn't win. Again, I guess it would be Kamala Harris the second time around, but it didn't matter. We probably would have had a national holiday, and they truly believe this is the equivalent of 9/11. They cannot get away from this story. The media and their Democrats are in love with it, and it's to their own detriment. It is a pathetic display that we see every single year, and I'll be honest with you. Like I tell you before, I host 2 radio talk shows a day, and I didn't even mention January 6th Day. I completely forgot. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. Not one bit does it matter. But to our friends in the media and their Democrats, it matters to them a lot. Look at this story from AL.com. Which January 6th rioter would you invite to a dinner party? Wow. What a great piece. I'm glad John Archibald decided to take it. And he didn't show the people walking through the lines and the rope line there. And they didn't want to show any of that. Instead, we get the QAnon shaman and all these other things. And before we get too far into this, let me just say this. I wouldn't have pardoned any of the people that did any violence or did any damage on January 6th. I think that was a mistake. But to pretend that Donald Trump wanted that to happen is fact-free. It is ridiculous. The whole hang Mike Pence thing is absolutely ridiculous. The idea that there were gallows set up outside is absolutely ridiculous. There were people out there with that iconography, and that's fine. That's stupid. I don't like it. But the suggestion that this was an attempt to take over the government is just moronic. It just really is. It is very moronic. And talk to anyone there, they'll tell you it was moronic. Now, was there an attempt to challenge the election? Absolutely. Absolutely, there was an attempt to challenge the election. And you can say you don't like that all you want, and that's completely fine. And it's fair to have that position. Nothing wrong with that at all. You can have that position, and you can be mad about it. That's fine. But the system is set up to allow us to challenge it. Them storming the Capitol after Trump told them to go down and peacefully protest. Yeah, that kind of screwed all that up. Big mistake on the part of those people involved in that crowd. The ones who were violent should have been in jail right now. I don't need pardons for those people. I think that's absurd. But let's get back into the issue at hand. The sexualization, the fetishization, let's go with that, of January 6th by our friends in the media. John Archibald, AL.com, he is one of these weirdos who just cannot get over it. You know, I mentioned 9/11. And all you have to do is scroll down here, and he talks about all the people that he might invite. The QAnon shaman, some guy with pelts on his clothes, some guy who put his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, a guy who hit cops with poles. I don't know any of these people. The only one I do know is this guy from Falkville that he references here, Lonnie Leroy Kaufman, who had Molotov cocktails in his truck. Well, let me tell you about how I know that guy. I don't know him personally, but I guarantee you he was a listener to my radio show. Okay, there's no question about that. And this guy, wow. Firearms, machete, bow and arrow, 11 mason jars filled with gasoline and styrofoam, but he left them in his truck. Okay, he didn't do anything with them. He's an idiot, sure. He should be in jail. Great. But we're just suggesting here that everyone is these people. He even goes and says, you can read this here, you can have your Proud Boys, your Oath Keepers, your general racists, and foul-mouthed conspiracy theorists. You know, as much as the media and their Democrats like to play up this idea that the Proud Boys are the biggest threat to America that have ever existed, or the Oath Keepers are, they're harmless nobodies with no stroke. None. General racists exist, no question about that. And they should be maligned, and that's why they are. And as for the foul-mouthed conspiracy theorist, why don't you go look at anything I post on social media on my Facebook page and wait till we see something about Epstein and this person's a pedophile or that. That whole conspiracy theory thing, both parties, guys. Both parties are ridiculous. Yes, it's a both sides issue. But all of that said, you have him complaining about the get out of jail free card. You have him talking about all of this. But this is the part I want to talk about. If you get down here to later in the story, he says this. I remember this. I remember it like I remember 9/11 in slow motion. Same as when the towers fell. On January 6th, pillars of America fell in much the same way. Respect for our system of government down as if struck by a jet airliner. Faith in our electoral system crashing to the ground. You dumb son of a bitch. Let me help you out here. The reason January 6th happened is because people lost faith in their system of government. Their faith in the electoral system. That's what happened. Just like with Donald Trump, these people do not understand that Donald Trump is not the problem. He is the response to the problem. Okay? I know they don't want to believe that. I know they don't want to see it. And they don't want to learn anything because, again, their almost sexual fetishization of this is just weird. And you listen to John Archibald, and he says this. But what happened on January 6th, 2021, however disturbing, however heartbreaking, however disillusioned, this guy won a Pulitzer Prize, by the way, has nothing on what has happened since. Much of America has not excused but embraced the most vile behavior, whitewashed the racism, defended the indefensible, and apologized for the criminal mob. That's not true. Much of America has not done that. They just think you guys are clowns. That's all it is. Your response to this is this. To talk about 9/11. To talk about racism and all this other stuff. Most Americans are not racist. They know this. And they know that when you call them racist, that you're calling other people racist too. And it doesn't impact them. You have overplayed your hand. Our country forgave a terrorist attack on its very halls of power. I mean, maybe in the moment you could feel that way. But, I mean, going back and looking at it, it's a terrible time in our history. But you people are a little out of your mind. What were they going to take the country over with? They didn't have any weapons, except for poles and, I guess, bats and stupid stuff like that. What was their command structure? What were they going to do? What were they going to do? Nothing. And you're acting like it's it's 9/11 or it's God, what's the other one? I can't remember it. Pearl Harbor. It is kind of funny though, but these same people will look at October 7th and make excuses for it, like an actual terrorist attack, an actual genocide. All these things, they'll look at that and they'll excuse it away. But January 6th was the worst thing that ever happened to them. And then he closes with this. In doing so, we disrespected all of those who came before and all who will come after. It's as if we turn armed insurrection to nothing worse than dubious dinner guests. We swore after 9/11 to never forget what happened. On this 1/6, we must swear to remember all those who want us to forget. Oh, yeah. And you wonder why this has absolutely no stroke. You wonder why you can't get anywhere with this stuff. Think about the clownish behavior you are engaging in right this moment. Think about it. And stop. Nobody is buying this stuff. This is a joke. An absolute pathetic joke. Not a single person believe. On this 1/6, we must swear to remember all those who want us to forget. John Archibald, no one is ever going to take you seriously again. And they shouldn't. Because you're a joke. This whole thing is a joke. Everything you're doing here is an absolute joke. And if you want to see more of a joke, go look at what Democrats are doing right now. Go look what they're doing. All you have to do is see what they're up to, and you'll go, oh my God, this is lame. And that's exactly what Americans think about this. Look at this.
And guide her Through the night with the light from above.
They're singing God Bless America. And it is not lost on me. These Democrats are singing God Bless America, and I'll spare you the sound. But it's not lost on me that these clowns out here singing God Bless America are the same people that would kneel during the national anthem. They are the same people that would be furious that someone mentioned God to their children in a public school. These are the same people that think that the wall separating church and state is supposed to protect the government from the church. Yet they're out there screaming, God bless America. They're out there suggesting that they even like America. These are the same people that tell us America was never great. But when they think they can weaponize not only Christianity, but love of country, patriotism, they try to jump right in, and then they wonder why nobody believes them. Well, the answer is simple. They don't believe a single damn thing they say. They never have. They don't believe any of this. They don't believe that their lives were in danger. They don't believe this was one of the worst moments in American history. They just thought that they could utilize this in order to get power. That's all they thought. And they're still doing it. To this day, they've learned nothing. Jason Crow was on CNN. They're still out here doing the exact same thing, referencing January 6th, talking about how they need to be able to impeach the president, I guess, for a third time, as if the American people care about this at all.
One of the other things that Trump said this morning was that if Democrats win the House in the midterm elections, they would seek to impeach the president, which is, of course, something that he has also used in the context of talking to his supporters.
By the way, just let's look at the chyron here. It says political divide over January 6th deepens 5 years after the Capitol attack. They're wrong. Nobody gives a shit about this. Okay, that would be the thing you might want to understand most. Not a single person gives a shit about this. It was a terrible moment. The people involved should have been held accountable. And 5 years later, you're talking about it as if this is an American kitchen table issue. If this is coming up at the kitchen table, you're surrounded by morons. Okay? That's as simple as I can make it. Nobody really cares about this. Yet they think they can win with this. And hasn't the last 5 years taught them something? All this got them was further out of touch and Donald Trump back in the White House. That's all it's gotten them. And they cannot help themselves on this. And I feel bad for them. I do. Because they so want this to be a thing. And it's not. Let's start over.
One of the other things that Trump said this morning was that if Democrats win the House in the midterm elections, they would seek to impeach the president, which is, of course, something that he has also used in the context of talking to his supporters about how he has been treated. Is he right that Democrats would potentially impeach the president if they controlled the House after the elections this year?
Well, impeachment is something that I happen to know a lot about because I was a prosecutor in Donald Trump's first impeachment trial.
Yeah, and you lost. And then he used it over and over and over again to get reelected. Real good.
One of two. So that is a tool that Congress can use. But there are other tools that Congress can use. I am not holding my breath that a Democratic-controlled Senate and a Republican-controlled Senate and a Republican-controlled House, Jim Jordan or others, are going to move and do anything on an initiated impeachment proceeding right now, which is why the midterms are so important.
So he's acknowledging that if they win, they will start going down this impeachment path again. Okay. I mean, just go right ahead. I mean, you're going to end up with either President Vance or President Rubio. That's what you're going to, if you keep this up, this is what you're going to end up with. You're already defending Somali fraudsters. Yeah, you're doing that. You're defending Somali fraudsters. You're defending illegal immigrants. You're defending a dictator in Venezuela. You're doing all the things that you don't need to do. And you're doing all of them. And you're doing them all poorly. And now you're putting impeachment back on the hook. And is it as if these pathetic losers needed another person to lead them down the path to irrelevancy? Look no further than this crying, pathetic loser, Adam Kinzinger. And I feel bad for this guy. I really, really do. Because he doesn't know what else to do. He sold his soul for a CNN gig that he didn't get. I mean, that's the worst thing about this for him. He sold his soul for a CNN gig he didn't get, so he has to keep going back to the same thing. Go look at his social media feed. This guy, he was a conservative Republican who now is pro-illegal immigration, pro-higher taxes. He cannot stop talking about Ukraine, and he cannot ever stop talking about Donald Trump. And this guy, his obsession with January 6th destroyed his life. Just destroyed his life. And he can't get over it. And the only time they bring him on is when they need a Republican to rip on other Republicans. That's it. And it doesn't even work. It doesn't even work. I mean, good Lord. This idea that there's all these Republicans floating around waiting for some other Republicans to tell them which Republicans to hate is just so stupid and nonsensical. They can't even help themselves, but here he is crying again.
Look, let me first off say that democracies are not defined by bad days. So January 6th was a bad day. What we're defined by is what do we do with those bad days? How do we come back from them? What do we learn? And I thought it would be faster than this. It may be longer. But if we can look back someday and say that we took account of what happened, we took ownership of it, we agreed to never let it happen again, I can say that probably we came out stronger.
You're just looking for a win here, buddy. You lost on every count. You lost on every count. Every single thing in your life has gotten worse since January 6th because you made that your entire identity. That's what happened here. And it's sad, but that is who you are now. You don't know what else to do except be that guy. And in reality, you're only useful every so often when you're that guy. Democrats don't really care about you. Republicans hate you. And now this is who you are. And all of this stuff they're doing, what did it get them? Just what did it get them at the end of the day? At the end of the day, what they ended up with is Donald Trump as president of the United States, a Republican majority in the House and the Senate. You're going to end up with more Republican Supreme Court justices. And what did you get out of it? 4 years of Biden? I mean, you already had that. You beat him. All you had to do was just be normal, and you guys can't. You're standing on the steps of the Capitol singing a song you hate about a country you do not like, and everyone knows it. You come off as frauds and phony. Nobody believes you believe the things you're saying. Yet you continue attempting to beat that drum over and over and over again. And you just continue losing with it. If you were just honest about what you believe, what you want, and get out there and fight for it, you might have a shot. But this is loser bullshit. And they're not going to stop. They're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it. And I'm here for it. I'll talk about it every single day. And I appreciate you being here watching. Like, subscribe, follow, do all those things you're supposed to do. And we'll talk to you sometime tomorrow. See ya.